Hi, my name is Greg Mengarelli, Mayor of the City of Prescott, and your host for Prescott Today. Today we'll be talking to first responders here at the City of Prescott. We'll start with Deputy Chief Amy Bonney at the Prescott Police Department, and then we'll also talk to our Fire Chief, Dennis Light. Welcome back, everybody. We're here at Prescott PD with our first guest, Deputy Chief Amy Bonney. Thanks for being with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, let's first kick off and tell me a little bit about yourself and how long you've been here in Prescott.
Well, I was born in Prescott, so I'll let people decide how long that has been. But I'm really proud to say that I was born here and graduated from Prescott High School. And as soon as I graduated from NAU, I came scurrying right back home and began work for the Prescott Police Department.
And how long have you been here with the PD?
Just over 21 years.
21 years, so I'm doing some math to figure out how old are you now. So, well, let me thank you right off the bat here. You know, recently, a few weeks ago, there was a hiker lost in the Dells. And it was about 48 hours, and I was very concerned that this person may not make it. And I was thrilled to find out that you guys, with the help of some other folks, had found the hiker. And so thank you to Prescott PD, Prescott Fire, DPS, Yavapai County. I think that's most everybody that was out there helping out. It was a great team effort.
It absolutely was. And I got to tell you, we were all really, really worried about him. And, you know, the team atmosphere is definitely what helped us out with him. And we are so thankful that he was found alive and that he's going to be recovering and back with his family really, really soon.
It's a great feel-good story. So commend you guys. Thank you. Maybe we should talk a little bit about trail safety, you know, given we had this hiker. And I know many times Prescott Fire's doing some rescues in around the Dells or some other trails around town, but talk to us a little bit about trail safety and hiking out there.
Well, I think a lot of us take for granted, you know, that we know the area, that the trails are really well maintained, and that's something that we're really, really thankful for in our area. But it really is important for people to remember first that they have to take a lot of water with them. Even though we're coming into the cooler season here, take more water than you think you need. Plan on being out there for longer than you think you might be. Take a cell phone, make sure that it's fully charged. If you have a spare battery pack, that would definitely be something that would be helpful to take. Some snacks. You know, you don't want to overpack, don't have to pack like you're going on a 5-day hike or anything like that, but make sure that you're prepared. Have some snacks, have lots of water. Tell people where you're going. Make sure somebody knows where you're going and when you're going to be back, as importantly. And check in with them when you leave and when you come back. Texting is really easy nowadays. And just make sure that you communicate with the people around you, that they know, you know, when you're going to be back. So if something does happen to you, we can send the right resources to the exact location that you might be.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good stuff. I was thinking as you're talking about how many times I go mountain biking and I never tell my wife where I'm going.
Right.
So I'll try to do better with that.
Yeah. Just let somebody know. Put a little note on your dog or something like that. Homing pigeon.
So it's October. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I know last year you guys did a lot of cool stuff with the pink patch. Tell us a little bit more about what's going to be happening.
Well, funny you should ask, because I brought a pink patch, and you might notice that it's different than last year.
I have one from last year.
So yeah, so this is 2019's patch. So our goal with this campaign this year, again, just to raise awareness and educate people and raise some money, we are going to be donating all the funds this year to the Yavapai Regional Medical Center Breast Care Center. That's a lot of words to say, and I did it right the first time. So we will be wearing pink for the entire month of October. We have a ton of events coming up. We're going to be anywhere from pop-ups down on the square, different restaurants throughout town, to high school football games. And we are very excited to announce that we're going to be doing something really cool on October 20th, which is a Sunday, right in downtown Prescott in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. We're going to be having the first annual Prescott Police Department Pink Pumpkin Patch. So there'll be more
pumpkin patch.
Pink pumpkin patch, yes.
All right.
So we will have more information about that as we get closer to the event, but it's going to be hopefully something that will grow and we can involve the community in for a lot of years to come.
Great, can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So you guys have been really out in the community a lot, I notice, really trying to build relationships, very good at that. one of those initiatives has really been kind of through Coffee with a Cop. So tell us more about how that got started and what the purpose and the goal of that is.
Yeah, so Coffee with a Cop is actually a nationwide program, and when Chief Black began here back in 2016, it's something that she had done in her area in Glendale before she came here, and so she said, I want to start Coffee with a Cop. And it's a really simple program, just basically with the idea of getting out there and connecting with the community. And we like to take it different places at different times throughout the year so that everybody who wants to come hopefully has an opportunity to come. And one of the best things about it that we really enjoy is there's no agenda. So it's not like we come prepared with, let's talk about traffic safety or let's talk about crime stats. We come just ready to interact with people and answer any questions that they might have. We bring different members of our department every month. So one month it might be the chief and a detective and maybe one of our volunteers. The next month it might be a lieutenant, somebody from our traffic safety section. So we try to mix it up a little bit so that we can answer all those questions and just meet people where they are.
Yeah, great way for the public to interact with you guys and kind of a non-confrontational situation to allow them just to get to know you better and maybe they have questions for you. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
So we did something kind of fun in September and we took one of our downtown intersections and not a new idea because other folks have done this, but changed how we move people and cars through the intersection there at Gurley Street and Montezuma. So you've been watching this. What are your thoughts?
Well, we were down there on the first day just kind of watching, and I have to say it was a lot of fun. And our experience, we've been down there, our volunteers are down there on a very regular basis, just keeping an eye on it, and they were throughout the month of September as well. I think it will take people a little bit of time to get used to, pedestrians and drivers alike. It certainly seems to get pedestrians where they're wanting to go quicker. It's funny, people didn't really believe us when we were down there talking to people and we said, you can walk on the diagonal, and they're like, no, we don't believe you. But once they got the hang of it, it really seems like people are enjoying it and hopefully it's moving them through the intersection a little bit faster. Something that we keep permanently, will work to educate people and help them remember that you can't turn on red because we have pedestrians there and pedestrians and cars. Of course, we want to keep everybody safe. So, it's been interesting, and hopefully, if it's something that we choose to keep, then we'll be able to help educate people and keep it going.
Yeah, no, I think it's been great. The thing I loved about it was, when cars are moving, people are not, and when people are moving, cars aren't. And I'm hoping that that's a safer environment where we have a lot of pedestrians down there. I know when I'm driving downtown, I'm always looking 100 times to make sure I don't see any pedestrians when I'm turning right or turning left. So, well, good. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out here in the future. There's something special about our police department, and I would just ask you, what do you think makes Prescott PD special? You've been here 21 years, so what's the secret sauce?
I think first of all, it's our people. We take a lot of pride and we take a lot of care in selecting the right people to do every job that we have here, whether it's, a telecommunications specialist over in our dispatch center, somebody that's the first voice that you hear when you're having an emergency, our records clerks at our front desk, who are the first people to greet people when they walk into our building, and of course our uniformed personnel. It really is just about picking the right people and making sure that they understand that our priority as leadership throughout the city is to make those connections on a personal level and represent the very best of what we have in Prescott. And so, we focus on helping them learn how to communicate effectively and going out and just putting kind of a human face to the uniform. And sometimes in bigger communities, it's really difficult to do. But here we have a lot of people who are, not only born here and raised here, but just that are invested in this community and feel that drive to connect with people and to serve people. And that's what's important to us. So I think, I hope that comes across, that we come across as approachable and, caring. And that's important because really most of what we do is communicate with people.
Yeah.
But when it's time to get serious and time to deal with the bad guys, we're very well equipped and prepared to do that as well. And so just have to learn to know when the right time is for those things and time and place. And so.
No, that's good. And I think there's a mutual respect, in our community that really respects what you guys do every day to keep us safe. And I'm really proud of our PD. here in the city. Well, anything else, any other initiatives or anything else we should know?
Well, I will tell you, since we talked about Coffee with a Cop, our next one is going to be on October 17th at 2 o'clock at the Finn at the Touchmark. So if you've never been up there, that is a restaurant that is open to the public, and it has an amazing view, beautiful facility. And so we'll be up there on the 17th at 2 o'clock. Anybody is welcome. We will have our pink patches for sale there as well. So you'll see us around quite a bit in October with the pink patch stuff, and of course the rest of the months we will announce our Coffee with the Cop well ahead of time through social media and our website as well.
Great. Folks can get on to Instagram or Facebook or Twitter.
Yes.
And just Prescott Police
Prescott
Department.
PD, yep, Chief Black and Deputy Chief Bonney on Twitter, and we are all over Facebook, all over Instagram, and our two canines are like Instagram stars. So Blue and Benny and their two handlers, Officer Reynolds and Officer Bray, those teams are amazing, and they have the best Instagram pages ever, so you should definitely follow those.
Yeah, we didn't talk about canines, but I know they're always a big hit when you do neighborhood meetings or schools or whatever. Everybody loves the canines, and it's nice to have those two dogs out there helping the city be safe.
They are amazing. So we've had a lot of success with them, and they certainly are wonderful ambassadors for us as well.
Well, thanks so much for your service to the city of Prescott.
It's my pleasure.
And your leadership here. You're doing a great job. Again, I'm so proud of our police department and all that you guys do to keep us safe. I think there's a lot you do that we don't know to keep us safe, but really appreciate your leadership and everything you do here and your service to our community.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
We'll be right back with Chief Dennis Light. Welcome back, everybody. We've moved over to Station 71 here off White Spar Road, and we're here with Fire Chief Dennis Light. Thanks for joining us, Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Well, so let's first talk just a little bit about yourself, your experience, and kind of how you got here in Prescott.
Well, I've had a very rewarding 42 years in the fire service. My first chapter was with the U.S. Air Force, for which I retired in '94. Took on an opportunity to present myself in Arizona back in '97 and joined Prescott back in June of 2014 following the tragedy.
Yeah, so, you know, that was a real critical time, Chief. You got here a little less than a year after the tragedy happened where we lost the hot shots. Talk a little bit about that and kind of what you saw as your role at that time.
Well, first and foremost, you know, you can't get much lower than that particular low due to loss of life. I felt it critical to get on board before the first anniversary. With that, it was really a time to heal for the organization, the community, and try to take some charted course moving forward. And I think we've kind of, we're getting to the point where we're starting to realize some of those benefits.
Well, I think you did a great job, Chief. On behalf of the city, I just want to thank you and commend you for your leadership during that time, bringing stability back to the department and kind of getting us on a path forward, a path of healing. So some of the things that I'd like to talk about here were some of those activities or events around that with maybe the Tribute Center and also, you know, the Station 7 there, you know, that you're looking to do a memorial up there.
Yeah, well, it kind of started really by community input. A lot of folks had a vested interest in what would happen to the memorabilia that was very nationally reported and internationally reported on that took place at Station 7. After some interactions with the community members, members of council, we charted a course to develop and unveil the Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center up at the Gateway Mall. Subsequent to that, we had the property that we've exchanged hands with, but we felt it was very critical to the memorial of the folks that provided the greatest sacrifice to honor that as their work location. So here on Friday, the September 27th, we're looking at unveiling a monumental historical marker to kind of denote that for the community and the family members.
So for people who maybe are new to town or are unfamiliar, Station 7 is at 6th Street and Easy Street?
That's correct. 6th Street and Easy Street. It's the old kind of metal frame building currently occupied by the plumbing store across from Station 72. And I think the monument's very respectful of the gentleman that provided the greatest sacrifice they could, as well as the survivor with Brendan.
Yep. Well, I appreciate all that you've been a part of. I know there's a lot of different groups doing some different things, but I think people really come here to remember the guys by going to Yarnell maybe and doing the hike, coming to the Tribute Center and seeing some of the memorabilia. They'll be able to go to Station 7 now with this marker there and then be able to understand where they worked out of. And then furthermore, coming up, we'll have a statue on the plaza, I hope, by next year. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I've been talking with some of the collaborators on that, and I think June 30th of next year is a good target for that work to be completed. And you know, we learned a long time ago, I think, you can't do everything at once. It has to kind of be stair-stepped out, and I think this community's done a remarkable job of doing that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all your work on that. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about some updates that people might want to know here from the fire department that might be relevant to our citizens.
Well, I think the most important one for us as an organization and for the community is our pursuit of international and national accreditation. The accrediting body is the Center for, or the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. And I always kind of equate accreditation with hospitals or educational institutions. For example, do you want to go to a doctor that's been vetted thoroughly by a third-party independent review board, or do you want to have a doctor that says, well, I do a really good job? What accreditation brings to the organization is a third-party review of all that, and it's a very comprehensive look over about 10 categories. So we've spent the last 2 years doing that. So that's probably, it's going to be a capstone to my career here at some point. I hopefully stick it out for a few years beyond, but it's one that's charting us a good roadmap for the future.
That's great. So Fire Prevention Week's coming up. Tell us a little bit about what you guys will be doing around that.
Well, Fire Prevention Week by its very design is dedicated to a renewed emphasis on fire prevention activities. We'll be out in the public domain, out at Walmart and a variety of senior care facilities, helping folks better understand the risk from fire and ensuring they take their due diligence seriously to prepare and be preventive in the nature to prevent those fires that do occur.
Yep, very good. So we live in a wildland urban interface. You know, much of the city is really surrounded by a national forest, which we love, but it also has some danger associated with it. Tell us a little bit about what we're doing to prevent any kind of wildland fire. I know folks are very concerned at times. We saw what happened in Paradise.
Exactly.
And we don't want that to happen here. So talk a little bit about the activity around that and what you're doing to prevent that kind of thing.
Well, a lot of it rests with community involvement. Private property owners need to take care of their own. We make ourselves available to do lack of a better term, profiles on residential and commercial properties. If they're interested, they can call 777-1700 and we'll arrange to send out an assessor to be evaluated. We're also very well engaged with our partners. As you've probably heard before, I kind of refer to them as the greens, the whites, the yellows, and the reds. And the greens representing the Forest Service, white, State Fire, green, or yellows being Bureau of Land and Management, and then finally reds. So we do a lot in the way of creating defensible space, or the new frame of reference is survivable space, survivable for the community members and survivable for our firefighters. And that's been very aggressive over the years. And although we line up very much and very similar to Paradise, I think we've done something that Paradise hasn't, and that's done something proactive to prevent that risk.
Yeah, no, that's what you have to do. And you know, one thing I always hear, Chief, and I don't have the perspective you do, but many times in these meetings when you have interagencies represented, they talk about the level of cooperation and partnership, which is unprecedented here in the Prescott Basin.
Oh, it's unprecedented in this country, frankly. There's not, you know, and I've had the chance to interact with folks across this country, and you know, the alphabet soup of agencies gets along so well. We complement one another in the work that we perform. And when it does come time for response, I think it's probably one of the most unique response systems that there is in the country. And I'm very proud of what was done ahead of my arrival, and that sustains through today.
Yeah, no, we're very fortunate here in Prescott, and people may not have that perspective. So with kind of tongue-in-cheek, I want to talk about an aging department in terms of your personnel, and one member in particular, Don Devendorf, who's really been the cornerstone of this department for decades, and he's retiring early next year. So talk a little bit about Don's role here and what kind of big shoes he's leaving empty for us, and maybe some other changes with your department.
Well, probably, as you kind of allude to, the corporate memory that Don provides, myself as a new executive, as well as just to the rank and file of this organization, is just, you can't measure it. Don's had his fingers or his commitment in every facet of fire service profession, whether it's his service as a SWAT medic or an incident commander, firefighter, engineer, captain. He's pretty much done it all, so it's going to be tough to replace him. I think what we have done is developed a strategy for better cohesiveness amongst our senior staff, and with that we're currently recruiting for a deputy fire chief. I'm optimistic. We have some internal interest, but I want to make sure we do the best for this community, so we are looking outside our boundaries and see what we can come up with. It also puts us in line to better communicate our message. One of the challenges I have as an executive is I get stuck on executive stuff, and the operations stuff needs a little bit more attention, but I'm only one person, so we're hopefully bridge that gap with Don's successor in the form of a deputy fire chief.
Yeah, well, we have some great leadership. I know some of your battalion chiefs are looking at retirement here soon as well, and you're going to see a little bit of that turnover in the next 3 to 5 years, but some great young folks coming up into the organization, it looks like.
Yeah, our bench strength is really good. Real pleased the folks have gone out and got their formal education, they've got their technical knowledge, they're checking the boxes. From battalion chief on down through the ranks, there always appears to be a bottleneck of some description. We weather those bottlenecks where we'll fill positions with interim appointments, but the eventuality is we promote from within. The deputy chief being a little bit different, and we have an opportunity to look outside, we want to make sure we got the best. So I think our bench strength is strong, and I think looking forward we'll have a much more cohesive department.
Yeah, no, that's great. So on October 18th, you've got something coming up, a special event here for the fire department?
We do. We have the badge pinning coming up on October 18th. This year we're absent of any badge pinnings. We haven't hired any new folks. However, I also take it as an opportunity to offer a degree of recognition to our rank and file, and most importantly, some of the interdepartment and community members. So we host it here at Station 71. It's a family affair, as you well know, Mayor. It's kind of nice. We have some refreshments at the end, but it gives me an opportunity to recognize some folks that distinguish themselves above the norm. And I'm very pleased. We instituted that about a year after I got here, and we seem to run it every 6 months, and it seems very responsive and very well received.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure of mine to attend many of those badge pinnings and ceremonies, and I think it's important to really make the connection back to those folks at home who are really supporting these folks on the front lines, and make it a family affair. And then just, it really brings a lot of importance to what's going on here, and the recognition, I think, and bringing that level up has been very good.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head with the family affair. Unlike many professions, the armed forces, the fire service, and the police service, for the most part, and other first responders, our family is our family at home and our family at work. And with that, we try to make the environment less intimidating. We want it family friendly. Hence, we do it here at their comfort level in the grounds here versus something more formalized before the council.
Yeah. Well, thanks for instituting that. So let's shift gears a little bit here and talk about some recent fires. This was a very different summer, a very, they called it non-soon, I think, the non-monsoon event. And we saw some rains, in September, later, timely rain on the Johnson fire. But talk a little bit about the surprise fire, the Johnson fire, and some of these events that were happening here late in the monsoon season.
Well, it's been typical in the sense, you know, everything that normally happens in July was pushed a month. So our fire season actually hit us in July and the early part of August, where the fuels, the ground fuels, dried up significantly. With that, the reconstitution of a monsoonal flow brings about lightning strikes, and other than man-made causes, lightning is very prevalent here for fire cause. So both the Surprise fire, the Pendleton fire, and a few of the others that have occurred this past, probably last 30 days or so, have been used to integrate towards forest health. And what that means is basically allowing fire in its natural source to do what it needs to do in the forest, to promulgate new growth, bring in wildlife, and those kind of things. Contrary to folks when they hear managed, it's not letting it burn. It is actually being integrated for the betterment of the overall forest.
Yeah, we've had some really good fires like that, and I know people kind of probably shake their head at that, but when you can allow a fire to do its work like that and take care of some of those fuels, it really is a good thing, as long as there's no structures that are in the way.
Yeah, and then, you know, one of the challenges I think that comes with any fire is just the environment, and with relative humidities that go up, those fires that are free burning during the day, the smoke goes up, but overnight it has a tendency to settle. And about a week ago, I think we probably fielded close to 1,000 calls of smoke in the area. Well, the practical reason was it was the whiskey fire and it layered down overnight, which is pretty typical at this time of year.
Yep. Well, very good. Anything else we should know about the fire department? Anything we missed here today?
No, I think the men and women that serve do so with a smile. As you saw earlier, we have citizens stop in fairly regularly and treat us to some sweets here and there and everything else. Well, we try to manage that, but we're also out in the community, and it's very critical as a fire chief to make sure we have a public appearance and public outreach as part of our program, and I think we do a pretty darn good job of that.
Well, I think you do as well. You know, one other thing I want to mention is a number of weeks ago, there was a hiker lost in the Dells. And I know that Prescott PD was kind of leading on that, but I know you guys played a very big role in that rescue. I have to tell you, I was so excited to hear that they found this person and that you guys were there to help the team get them out of there. And I know it was a big collective effort, but I appreciate your work on that.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, Prescott PD took the lead, and that's kind of typical when it's an unknown going into it. We were very fortunate. This was actually a trained hiker. This wasn't just somebody up visiting and overextended themselves. This was an experienced hiker, and with that, even experience doesn't always count for everything. We were able to recover, and thankfully, the gentleman got to the hospital. I believe he was treated and released and given some fluids, and he's doing well.
We need more of those good news stories, so thanks for your contribution on that. Thanks for being on the show today.
I'm glad to be here, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank both Deputy Chief Bonney as well as Chief Dennis Light for being on the show today. And that's all we have. Thanks for watching Prescott Today.